Our doctrine, our teaching this week is about eternal life. We see that in the parable of the great banquet. Jesus is trying to explain what eternal life will be like using a picture that we might understand, a great banquet where all these people are together and we're in joy and we have plenty and we aren't thinking about problems or pain. It's just a picture of heaven. We hear from God that on that last day, some will awake to everlasting life. But let's take a look at a few more Bible passages that help us understand what eternal life is. Hebrews chapter 9 says this, "Just as people are destined to die once, and after that to face judgment, so Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of many, and he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him." A lot in this verse, but it says you only die once. You have one time of grace, one opportunity in this life to be connected to God in his word and be part of God's family. And then we face that judgment. If we have faith, through faith we're given what Christ has done for us and we're judged as God's children. And Jesus is going to come back a second time, not to die on the cross like he did the first time, but he's going to come and that last day we're going to be raised body and soul to be with God forever. Let's take a look at another verse from Daniel chapter 12. It says, "Multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt." This verse is talking about what happens to our bodies. Our bodies are sleeping in the ground. They decay, they become dust. But in the last day when Jesus returns to really usher in the permanent eternal life, that's when those bodies will be raised and believers and unbelievers will have their souls put back together with their bodies. And some will go back to heaven to be with God and some will suffer in hell. And what this verse reminds us, there's no middle ground. Either you're with God and that's heaven, or you're without God because you chose that and then you're in eternal punishment in hell. There's no middle ground. There's no kind of waiting. There's no way you can kind of work out it's one space or the other. That's why it's really important that we connect to Jesus and we connect others to Jesus. So what will eternal life with God be like? It's really hard to picture. We don't really know, but here's a really good verse. Psalm 16 verse 11 says, "You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand." Heaven is going to be with God, and when you're with God, it's all awesome. And eternal pleasures, it's not like it's like fun like at a theme park, but it's going to just be really joy, and we don't know for sure what it's going to be like. In fact, there's some spots where the Bible tries to describe heaven by letting us know what it won't be, because we know some things that definitely won't be in heaven. So what is eternal life? Well, it's a gift of God in Jesus. So it's a present given to you. You didn't earn it. God, it's gracious invitation, like in the parable of the great banquet. Come on in. You're invited. There's no fee, there's no charge, and everything is provided for you. It's rest, it's peace, but it's also no crying, no pain, no death. It's called pleasure. There's no hunger. And you have this glorious body. So everything that's bad in this world, everything that's tough and stressful and painful and is broken, that's not going to be with us in heaven. You don't have to worry about getting sick. You don't have to worry about people dying. You don't have to worry about getting older. It's just going to be awesome and wonderful. And it's kind of hard for us to picture what it's going to be like. It's called sleep. It's called rest. It's called a banquet. What's death? That's the separation of body and soul. Okay, so just to go, here's the pattern of how life is. When someone dies, their body and soul separates. Then on the last day, sometimes called Judgment Day, sometimes even called the first day, that's when our body and soul are reunited, and then body and soul we rest and we have pleasure with God. That's eternal life. And we only know it's going to be great because Jesus has won it for us, and we can trust God that if he invited us to it, and if he's called us to it, and he's going to be there, it's going to be awesome. We'll be with God and also all God's people. So there will be people who have died in Jesus we're going to see, and that'll be great to see people we know there. But the greatest thing is that we're with our God and then also with all of God's family. So that's eternal life. We rejoice that because of Jesus, you and I will awake to that everlasting life.